After Meg and John's wedding, things settled down in two little houses. As Meg was learning what it was to be a wife, her sisters continued to pursue their own destinies. One day, Jo attended a scholarly lecture in the city. The subject was the Great Pyramids, but Jo found the people more interesting than the tombs. On her right was a studious-looking lad, absorbed in an illustrated newspaper.
Want to read it? That's a first-rate story!
Jo accepted it with a smile, for she had never outgrown her liking for lads, and soon found herself involved in the usual lurid labyrinth of love, mystery, and murder.
Prime, isn't it?
I think you or I could do as well as that if we tried.
I should think I was a pretty lucky chap if I could. She makes a good living out of such stories. She knows just what folks like and gets paid well for writing it.
And so an idea was born. Jo had never tried this style before, but her story was as full of desperation and despair as her limited experiences could make it. 6 weeks is a long time to wait, and a still longer time to keep a secret. But Jo did both and was just beginning to give up hope when a letter arrived. Everyone, come quick! Meg, hurry!
Jo electrified the family by appearing before them with the letter in one hand and a check for $100 in the other. Of course, there was a great jubilee. And when the story came, everyone read and praised it. Though after, her father had told her that the language is good, the romance fresh and hearty, and the tragedy quite thrilling, he shook his head. You can do better than this, Jo. Aim at the highest and never mind the money.
I think the money is the best part. What will you do with such a fortune?
Send Beth and Mother to the seaside for a month or two.
To the seaside they went, and though Beth didn't come home as plump and rosy as could be desired, she was much better. So Jo was satisfied and fell to work with a cheery spirit. The Duke's daughter paid the butcher bill, a phantom's hand put down a new carpet, and the curse of the Coventress bought new gowns all around.
Encouraged by her success, Jo resolved to try and publish her novel. Having copied it over for the 4th time, read it to all her confidential friends, and submitted it with fear and trembling to 3 publishers. She at last disposed of it on condition she would cut it down 1/3 and take out the parts she particularly admired.
Don't spoil your book, my girl. There is much more in it than you know.
It seems to me that Jo will profit more by taking the trial than by waiting. Criticism is the best test of such works, and we're too partial.
But that's just it. I've been fussing over the thing so long, I don't know whether it's good, bad, or indifferent.
I wouldn't leave a word out of it. The story is more in the minds than in the actions of the people, and it will all be a muddle if you don't explain as you go.
But Mr. Allen says leave out the explanations and let the characters tell the story.
Do as he tells you. He knows what will sell, and we don't.
Now, Beth, what do you say?
I should so like to see it printed soon.
So with Spartan firmness, the young authoress laid her firstborn on the table and chopped it up as ruthlessly as any ogre, and it was printed, and she got $300 for it. And enough helpful criticism to sink a battleship. You said criticism would do me good, but how can it when it's so contradictory? This man says,
an exquisite book full of truth, beauty, and earnestness.
Oh, the next says,
full of morbid fancies, spiritualistic ideas, and unnatural characters.
Another says,
oh, it's one of the best American novels in years.
I know better than that. Then this one says,
this book is
dangerous. Dangerous? Well, when I'm ready, I'll up and try again.
While Jo was learning that being an author was not always glamorous, Meg was making the same discovery about married life. She was determined to become a model housekeeper and went through Mrs. Cornelius's recipe book as if it were a mathematical exercise. One day, John was requested to order home a dozen or so jelly jars and an extra quantity of sugar, for Meg was determined to have jelly. The young housewife fell to work, feeling no doubts about her success, for hadn't she seen Hannah do it hundreds of times? Oh, but in time, it was a mess.
If John had not forgotten all about the jelly, it really would have been unpardonable in him to choose that day, out of all the days in the year, to bring a friend home to dinner unexpectedly.
Ah, my dearest girl, has anything dreadful happened here?
Tell me quick then. Don't cry. Is that all? I'll buy you quarts if you want, but for heaven's sakes, do not have hysterics. I've brought Jack Scott home to dinner
A man to dinner and everything in a mess! John Baruch, how could you do such a thing?
Well, I forgot the confounded jelly.
Take him away, and there isn't any dinner.
It'll be all right. Just fix us up something to eat. Give us cold meat bread and some cheese. We won't ask for jelly.
That's very funny. I won't be seeing him, and you two can laugh at me and my jelly as much as you like.
The dutiful husband dismissed his hungry friend and went off to clean the jelly. Later that evening, when both parties had calmed down, they met in the parlor. We are going to have a new moon, my dear.
I have no objection. John,
My dear,
I'm sorry, John.
No, I am. I couldn't help but laugh at the poor little jelly jars.
I never will again.
But he did. Oh, bless you, yes, hundreds of times. And so did Meg, both declaring that it was the sweetest jelly they had ever made, for family peace was preserved in that little jar. So the year rolled round, and at midsummer there came to Meg a new experience, the deepest and tenderest of a woman's life.
I'm coming. I'm coming. Here it goes. Go off.
How is she? Where is everybody? Why didn't you tell me?
She's resting upstairs, happy as a queen. Oh, the dear. Every soul of them is up for worshiping. We didn't want no hurricanes around. Now, you wait here, and I'll send them down to you.
Shut your eyes and hold out your arms.
I'd rather not. I shall drop it or smash
Then you
it.
don't get to see.
I will. Only you must be responsible for the damages. Twins?
Boy
By
and a
Jupiter!
girl. Aren't they beauties?
Most remarkable children I ever saw. Which is which?
Ooh, I put a blue ribbon on the boy and a pink on the girl. French fashion, so you can always tell.
Oh, kiss them, Uncle Teddy.
Here's Mother.
Meg,
Twins. I'm twins. Thank you. Grandmother.
Oh, come, Joe, it's time.
For what?
You promised to make half a dozen calls with me today. I was to finish the drawing of Beth for you, and you were to go properly with me.
Right. Joe hated making calls, but she let her more social sister drag her along, returning the visits of those who had visited them. Last on the list was Aunt March. Oh, let's go home and never mind Aunt March today. We can run down there anytime.
Aunt March likes to have us pay her the compliment of making a formal call. It's a little thing to do, but it gives her pleasure.
Oh, what a good girl you are. I wish it was as easy for me to do little things to please people.
They found the old lady at home and eager for gossip. Are you going to help with the charity fair, dear?
Yes, Aunt. Mrs. Chester asked me if I would, and I offered to tend a table.
No, I'm not. I hate to be patronized, and the Chesters think it's a great favor to allow us to help them with their fair.
I think it very kind of them to let me share the labor and the fun.
Like your grateful spirit, my dear. It's a pleasure to help people who appreciate our efforts. Some do not, and that is trying.
I don't like favors. They oppress me. I'd rather do everything for myself and be perfectly independent.
Do you speak French, dear?
Pretty well, thanks to your letting Esther talk to me as often as I like.
Ugh, I can't bear French. It's such a slippery, silly sort of language. Well, it's getting on. Come, Amy.
Missed you.
Oh, I missed you too.
How was your day?
Oh.
What is it, Marby?
Aunt March is going abroad next month, and wants
Me
Amy.
to go with her.
No, dear, not you. It's Amy.
Mother, she's too young. It's my turn first.
I'm afraid it's impossible, Joe. Aunt says Amy, and it is not for us to dictate.
Oh, Amy has all the fun, and I have all the work. It isn't fair.
I'm afraid it is partly your own fault, dear. Here she writes, I planned at first to ask Joe, but as favors burden her, and she hates French, I think I won't venture to invite her.
Oh, my abominable tongue. Why can't I learn to keep quiet?
Joe, dear. Well, I'm very selfish, but I couldn't spare you, and I'm glad you're not going quite yet.
Oh, I do love you so, my Beth, but I want to go away somewhere this winter for a change.
Why, Joe?
Oh, I brood too much over my own small affairs, and I need stirring up. I'd like to hop a little way and try my wings.
Where will you hop?
Oh, to New York. You know, Mrs. Kirk wrote to you about some respectable young person to teach her children and sew.
My dear, go out to service in the great boarding house, but you're writing.
No, I shall see and hear new things, get new ideas, and bring home quantities of material.
Are these your only reasons for this sudden fancy?
I'm afraid Laurie's getting too fond of me.
Then you don't care for him.
Oh no, I love the dear boy, as I always have, and I'm immensely proud of him. But as for anything more, it's out of the question.
I'm glad of that, Joe.
Why?
As friends, you are very happy, and your frequent quarrels soon blow over. But I fear you would both rebel if you were mated for life. You are too much alike, and too fond of freedom. Are you sure of his feelings for you?
Well, he hasn't said anything, but he looks a great deal. And I think I had better go away before it comes to anything.
I agree with you. And if it can be managed, you shall go.
Oh, yes! Thank you, Marby.
London, dearest people. Here I really sit at a front window of the Bath Hotel. Oh, the trip from the boat was like riding through a long picture gallery full of lovely landscapes. Shopping in Regent Street is perfectly splendid, but I shall get my gloves in Paris. Doesn't that sound sort of elegant and rich?
Dear Marmee and Beth, Mrs. Kirk welcomed me so kindly, I felt at home at once. The two little girls are pretty children, rather spoiled, I fancy, but they took to me after telling them the 7 bad pigs. Today, I saw something I liked. As I was waiting at the head of the stair for a little servant girl to lumber up, I saw a gentleman come along behind her, take the heavy load of coal out of her hands, and carry it all the way up. When I mentioned it to Mrs. K, she laughed and said, that must have been Professor Bhaer. She told me he was from Berlin, very learned and good, but poor as a church mouse.
London, Laurie's English friends, Frank and Freddie Vaughn, are here. Tell Beth they asked for her and are sorry to hear of her ill health. Oh, that's Aunt again. I must stop.
December. When I got to the nursery Saturday, there was such an uproar in the parlor that I looked in. And there was Professor Bhaer on his hands and knees, with little Tina on his back, Kitty leading him with the jump rope, and Minnie feeding 2 small boys in cages built of chairs. We're playing zoo, explained Kitty.
My dear Mama, I have made up my mind. And if Fred asks me, I shall accept him. Though I'm not madly in love, he is young, handsome, clever enough, and very rich. Ooh, ever so much richer than the Lawrences.
A happy new year to you all, my dearest family. I can't tell you how much I enjoyed your Christmas bundle, where I didn't get it till night, and had given up hoping. Speaking of presents, Mr. Bhaer got me a fine Shakespeare. Oh, I hope you will know him someday. Mother would admire his warm heart, and Father, his wise head.
Last evening, I had a feeling it was going to happen, and I was ready for it. But when Fred arrived, he only had time to say goodbye, for he had just gotten a letter begging him to come home, for Frank was very ill.
My dearest Beth, I've begun to write again. If I can make some money, I'll take you to the mountains. Excuse me, I was looking for the weekly volcano office. I wish to see Mr. Dashwood.
You was, eh?
Yes, a friend of mine desired me to offer a story, just as an experiment.
Not a first attempt, I take it.
No, sir. She got a prize for a tale in the Blarney Stone Banner.
Oh, did she?
Yeah.
We'll take this if you don't object to a few alterations. I mean, it's way too long. But by omitting the passages I've marked, it should be just the right length.
Joe looked at the marked passages and was surprised to find that all the moral reflections she had carefully put in had been stricken out. But, sir, I thought every story should have some sort of moral, so I took care by having a few of my sinners repent.
People want to be amused, not preached at, you know. Morals don't sell nowadays.
But that's wicked. I know it's only light entertainment, but I did hope to give my work some higher meaning.
Do you want a higher meaning, or do you want to get paid? We give 25 to 30 for things of this sort. Pay when it comes out.
Shall I tell my friend you'll take another if she has one better than this?
Tell her to make it short and spicy, and never mind the moral. What name would your friend like to put on this?
Oh, none at all, if you please. She doesn't wish to have her name appear.
Just as she likes. We'll be out next week. Will you call for the money, or shall I send it?
I'll call. Good morning, sir.
Poor and proud as usual. But she'll do.
As soon as she was home, she went to her desk and she got out her papers and carefully reread every one of her stories. They're trash. And will soon to be worse trash if I go on, for each is more sensational than the last. Oh, I know it's so, for I can't read this stuff without feeling horribly ashamed of it. Oh, and what should I do if these were seen at home, or Mr. Bhaer got hold of them? At which thought, she stuffed the whole bundle into her stove, nearly setting the chimney afire with the blaze. These adventures aside, it was a pleasant winter and a long one, for she did not leave Mrs. Kirk till June. Everyone seemed sorry when the time came. Oh, now, sir, you won't forget to come and see us if you ever travel our way, will you? I want them all to know my friend.
Oh, do you? Shall I come?
Yes, come next month. My friend Laurie graduates then, and you'd enjoy commencement.
I fear I shall not make the time for that. But I wish your friend much success, and you all happiness. God bless you. After she was gone, he sat long before his fire, with a tired look on his face and a homesickness weighing heavy at his heart. Early as it was the next morning, Professor Bhaer was at the station to see Jo off, leaving her with the pleasant thought, I have made a friend worth having, and I will wish to keep him all my life. Goodbye.
Just for me. Lovely. Just.
Whatever his motive might have been, Laurie studied to some purpose that year, for he graduated with honor.
As she met him, she was excited for his accomplishments, but Joe felt distinctly uncomfortable.
Joe.
No, Teddy, please don't.
It's no use, Joe. We've got to have it out. The sooner the better, for the both of us.
Say what you like then. I'll listen.
I've loved you ever since I've known you, Joe. I've tried to show it, but you wouldn't let me. Now I'm gonna make you hear and give me an answer.
No, I wanted to save you this. I thought you'd understand.
But girls are so queer. They never know what they mean. They say yes and mean no and drive a man out of his wits just for the fun of it.
I don't. I never wanted you to care for me so, and I went away to keep you from it.
I only loved you all the more, but I hoped you could love me. No, I'm not half good enough.
Oh, you are. You're a great deal too good for me. And I don't know why I can't love you as you want me to. I've tried. It would be a lie to say I do when I don't.
Really? Truly, Joe?
Really, truly, dear.
You'll be sorry someday, Joe.
Where are you going?
To the devil.
Teddy, I wish I could. Beth thought the mountains too far from home, so Joe took her to the seashore. She was struck by the change in her sister, come too gradually to startle those who saw her daily. But to eyes sharpened by absence, it was very plain, and a heavy weight fell on Joe's heart. Hey. Beth, no.
Joe, dear, I'm glad you know. Well, I've tried to tell you, but I couldn't, even though
Beth, no.
I've known it for a while now, and I'm used to it. It's not so hard to bear.
Have you been keeping it to yourself all this time?
At first, I tried to think it was my imagination. But when I saw you all so well and strong and full of happy plans, it was hard to feel that I could never be like you. And then I was miserable, Joe.
And you didn't tell me? You didn't let me comfort and help you?
Oh, I didn't know. No one said anything, and I hoped I was mistaken. It would have been selfish to frighten you all with Marmee so anxious about Meg and Amy away, and you so happy with Laurie.
Oh, no.
Well, at least I thought so then.
No, but you will get well. You must.
I try, but it's like the tide, Joe. When it turns, it goes out slowly, but it can't be stopped. You'll tell them when we go home?
I think they'll see it without words.
I don't want any secrets. And it's kinder to prepare them. Meg has John and the babies to comfort her, but you must stand by father and mother. Won't you, Joe?
Oh, if I can, but Beth, don't give up yet. I won't let you think it's true.
I have a feeling that I was never intended to live long. I never made any plans about what I'd do when I grew up. I could never seem to imagine myself anything more but stupid little Beth, trotting about at home, of no use anywhere but there. I never wanted to go away. The hard part now is leaving you all.
Amy is coming home next spring. I'm gonna have you well and rosy by that time.
Don't hope anymore. It won't do any good, and I think the tide will go out easily if you help me.
After Laurie's triumphant graduation and his miserable failure at love, his grandfather persuaded him to go abroad and forget. Amy!
Oh, is it really you?
It really is.
Oh, how is your grandfather? When did you come? Oh, where are you staying?
Very well, last night and at the Chalvin.
Oh, I have so much to say. I don't know where to begin. I was out for a walk and longing for company. Oh, now tell me all about yourself.
Laurie went to Nice, intending to stay a week, but remained a month. Amy rose daily in his estimation, but he sank in hers.
Laurie, when are you going back to your grandfather?
Very soon.
You've said that 1,000 times.
Short answers save trouble.
He expects you, and you really ought to go.
I know it.
Then why don't you do it?
Natural depravity, I suppose?
Natural indolence, you mean? What would Joe say if she saw you now?
As usual, go away, Teddy. I'm busy.
I've got a new name for you. It's Lazy Lawrence. Do you want to know what I honestly think of you?
Pining to be told.
Well, I despise you.
Why, if you please?
Because with every chance of being good, useful, and happy, you're faulty, lazy, and miserable.
Oh, pray go on. It's quite interesting.
Yes. Selfish people always do like to talk about themselves.
Am I selfish?
With money and talent, position, health, beauty.
Oh, I'm beautiful?
You like that. Old vanity. But it's the truth, so I can't help but say it. You can find nothing to do but dawdle, and instead of being the man you ought to be, you're only
St. Lawrence on a gridiron!
I knew you'd take it so! You men tell us we're angels, but the instant we honestly try to do you good, you laugh at us, and you won't listen!
I'll be good, I'll be good.
Aren't you ashamed of a hand like that? It looks as if it never did anything but wear the best gloves and pick flowers for ladies. At least there are no diamonds or big seal rings on it. Only the old one that Joe gave you. Dear soul, I wish he was here to help me!
So do I!
Oh. They ought to have told me. Joe wouldn't be kind to you?
She was kind, but not in the right way. And it's lucky for her she didn't love me. I'm the good-for-nothing fellow you think me. And it's her fault. You may tell her so.
I didn't know. But I can't help wishing you'd better, Teddy dear.
Don't. That's her name for me. Do you think Joe would despise me as you do?
Yes, if she saw you now. Why don't you do something splendid and make her love you?
I did my best, but it was no use.
Graduating well, you mean? That's nothing more than you ought to have done for your grandfather's sake. It would have been shameful to fail when everyone knew you could do well.
I did fail. Joe wouldn't love me.
I'm sorry, Teddy. Okay.
Down. There you go. Let me grab you a blanket. Here we go.
Thank you, Hannah. I love you.
I'll see you tomorrow.
I found this and read it. I wrote this about you. So many wonderful things. Have I really been all that to you, Joe? Oh, Beth. So much. So much. Then I don't feel that I have wasted my life. And now, when it's too late to do better, I find it comforting to know that someone loves me so much and feels as if I've helped them. More than anyone in the world, Beth. I used to think I couldn't let you go. But I'm learning to feel that death, it can't part us. I know it can't. And I don't fear it any longer. I can be brave like you. You must take my place, Joe. And be everything to Father and Mother when I'm gone. I'll try that.
Early that spring, and the little birds came back in time to say goodbye to Beth, who, like a tired but trustful child, clung to the hands that held her all her life, as Father and Mother guided her tenderly through the valley of the shadow and gave her up to God.
For the first time in many months, the fire was out. My accustomed place in the corner was empty, and the room was very still. But a bird sang on a budding bough, and the snowdrops blossomed freshly at the window, and the spring sunshine streamed in like a benediction over the placid face upon the pillow.
A face so full of peace that we who loved it best smiled through our tears and thanked God our Beth was well at last.
Amy?
I knew you'd come to me.
I came the minute I heard. I wish I could comfort you.
I know Beth is well and happy, and I mustn't wish her back, but I dread going home as much as I long to see them all. But we won't talk about it now. It makes me cry, and I want to enjoy you for as long as you stay. You needn't go right back, need you?
Not if you need me, dear.
Oh, Laurie, how well we pull together, don't we?
So well. I wish we might always. Will you, Amy?
Yes!
Why must life be so difficult? I can't settle my mind. I can't focus on anything. I want my Beth.
Why don't you write? That always used to make you happy.
I have no heart to write. If I had, nobody cares for my things.
We do. Joe, write something fun for us. Never mind the rest of the world. Write from your heart. Write what you know. Write for Beth.
I don't believe I can.
But an hour later, there she was, scratching away.
It was Christmas Eve. No.
Her pen began to dance feverishly on the page.
It was Christmas Eve. Four girls sat about their parlor and grumbled about their fate.
Write from your heart.
Meg, the oldest and most romantic, said, "It's not fair some girls have pretty things while we have nothing. And it won't be Christmas without any presents," said Amy with her usual pout.
Write what you know.
"And we haven't got father to read to us," said Joe, who yearned to travel and write great books.
Write for Beth.
Only Beth, sitting contented, said, in a tone so sweet that even angels would have listened, "But we've got each other."
Joe never knew how it happened, but something got into that story that went straight to the hearts of those who read it.
For when her family had laughed and cried over it, her father sent it, much against her will, to one of her publishers.
And to her utter surprise, it was paid for and published. It wasn't long before the entire country was celebrating Joe's stories and falling in love with Little Women.
I don't understand it. What could there be in a simple little story to make people praise it so?
There is truth in it, Joe. That's the secret.
You have found your style at last.
You wrote with no thought of fame and money and finally put your heart into it.
If there is anything good or true in what I write, I owe it all to you, Mother, and to my dear angel, my Beth. And so, taught by love and sorrow, Joe had finally written a story that would make a difference. Not a tale of mystery nor blood and guts, but a tale of love, a tale of family, and especially the tale of a sister's bond. Thank you, my dear, dear Beth. Teddy! Oh, my Teddy!
Dear Joe, are you glad to see me then?
Glad, my blessed boy. Words can't express. Where is Amy?
Your mother has got her down at Meg's. We stopped there, by the way. There's no getting my wife out of their clutches.
You're what?
Dear, I've done it.
You've gone and got married?
Yes, please, but I never will again.
Actually married.
Very much so, thank you.
Mercy on us. What dreadful thing will you do next? Tell me about it. Come and confess, Teddy.
Oh, how good it sounds to hear you call me Teddy. No one calls me that but you.
What does Amy call you?
My lord.
Well, you look it.
They're coming right now to celebrate. Couldn't wait. I wanted to be the first one to tell you.
Thank you, Teddy, my dear, dear friend, my brother. I am happy for you both. Welcome to the family.
Where is she? Where's my Joe?
Oh, she looks so beautiful. Blessed is she, ink and silk from head to foot. Love has done much for our little girl.
She has had a good example before her all her life, my dear.
Oh, as happy as she was for her sister and new brother, Jo pulled herself away from the festivities, for she heard a knock on the door. And to her surprise, she found her dear friend, Mr. Bhaer, on the other side.
Oh, Mr. Bhaer, I'm so glad to see you. Please come in. We were just celebrating my sister's marriage.
You have a party? I only came to see Miss March. I'm sorry.
No.
Perhaps another time.
Oh, we haven't a party. Only family. Come in and make one of us.
You have been ill, my friend.
Oh, not ill, but tired and sorrowful. We've had trouble since I saw you last.
I know. My heart was sore for you when I heard that.
Thank you. Come in and meet my family. Father, mother, this is my friend, Professor Bhaer.
If the stranger had any doubts of his reception, they were put at rest in a minute. In time, Mr. Bhaer sat about with the air of a traveler who knocks at a strange door, and when it opens, finds himself at home. Thank you, thank you.
As the evening wore on, Amy and Laurie told about their adventures in Paris.
Everyone laughed at stories of domestic struggles.
They all celebrated the triumph of Joe's new book.
I'm so proud of you.
And we felt the presence of our dear Beth as we shared stories of her gentle kindness.
Well, it is getting late. I really must be going now. Thank you all so much for your kindness and hospitality. You have a beautiful family.
My wife and I are very glad to have met you, sir.
Please remember, there is always a welcome waiting for you at our home.
I will gladly come again, dear madame, for a little business in the city will keep me here for some days. Goodbye, my friend. I hope to see you soon.
That man intends to marry our Joe! I suspect that is a wise man.
Well, I know he is a good one.
Oh, I knew you would like him.
You should go after him.
Yes,
Tell me how you feel.
No, I couldn't be that forward.
You better take the little umbrella, dear. It looks like rain.
Yes, Marmee. Do you want anything in
Just go!
Right.
That girl.
Oh, Professor!
Joe? Joe! Joe, what are you doing out here? In the cold, in the rain, with no umbrella?
I need to tell you how I feel.
Oh no, Joe, we cannot speak of feelings. Not now. I have nothing but much love to give you.
Then why? Tell me what brought you at last. Just when I wanted you, when I needed you.
I came to congratulate you on the success of your new book. But I confess, I also came to see if you could care for me. And I waited to see if I was something more than a friend before I said anything. Am I? Could you make a place in your heart for dear old Fritz?
Yes, Fritz, yes, but why didn't you say something before?
I had a wish to say something the day I said goodbye in New York, but I thought the handsome friend was betrothed to thee, and so I spoke not. Would you have said yes then, if I had asked?
I don't know. I'm afraid not, for I didn't have any heart just then.
And now, Joe?
Yes, dear friend, yes. My heart is ready.
Oh, Joe. Dear Joe, I could not have the heart to take you from that so happy home until I could have the prospect of one to give you. I could not ask you to give up so much for a poor old fellow with no fortune but a little learning.
Oh, don't fear poverty. I've known it long enough to lose my dread and be happy working for those I love. And don't call yourself old. I couldn't help loving you if you were 70.
You give me such a hope and courage, and I have nothing much to give you but much love and these empty hands.
They aren't empty anymore. For a year, Jo and her professor courted. He promised to marry her when he could provide her the home she deserved. Then, the second year brought a sober surprise. Aunt March died suddenly. Amidst the mourning, the family found cause for rejoicing, for she had left Plumfield to Jo, which made all sorts of things possible.
Plumfield is a fine old place, and will bring a handsome sum, of course, if you intend to sell it.
No, I don't.
But my dear Joe, it's an immense house, and will take a power to keep it in order. And farming isn't Bhaer's line, I take it.
The crop we will raise is a profitable one.
What does this fine crop consist, ma'am?
Boys, I want to open up a school for lads, with me to take care of them and Fritz to teach them. Rich boys, poor boys, boys who need love and a family. I've had my experience too, for haven't I brought up one boy to be a pride and honor to his family?
Testify that you tried.
When I have my flock, I'll just point to you and say, there's your motto, my lads.
Almost before she knew where she was, Jo found herself married and settled at Plumfield.
A family of 6 or 7 boys sprung up like mushrooms and flourished. Poor boys as well as rich boys.
And how Jo did enjoy her wilderness of boys.
Every room in the big house was soon full.
And 3 times a day, Jo smiled at her Fritz from the head of a long table lined with rows of happy young faces.
Which all turned to her with affectionate eyes full of love for
Mother Bear.
As the years went on, 2 little lads of her own came to increase her happiness. How they ever grew up alive in that world full of boys was a mystery to their grandma and aunts, but they flourished like dandelions in the spring.
It was never a fashionable school, and the professor did not lay up a fortune. But it was just as Jo intended it to be, a good, happy place for boys who needed teaching, care, and kindness.
The kind of love I always knew my Jo could give.
The kind of love that our father and mother gave to their
Little women.